Alright, through this part.
Just as I suspected, war tunnels are here to stay, and we see them being implemented not only in the Middle East, in Gaza Strip and such, but also in Ukraine. We're going to talk about that today because I've been in the front line recently and there's so much I want to talk about. When we talk about Ukraine and war tunnels, obviously they don't have these giant tunnel networks that I experienced in Iraq and Syria, but they do have a pretty baseline idea of subterranean warfare, such as blindages. Making these bunkers, putting covers on top of them, concealing them, making it so that they can withstand at least a 60 millimeter mortar, maybe a 120 if you're like us. I think everybody, when they think about modern warfare, they're thinking FPVs. Okay, yes, FPVs are like the tanks to World War I. They're changing warfare forever. But one thing that isn't changing is tunnel warfare. Going subterranean in order to avoid detection, in order to avoid shrapnel death, or in order to avoid FPVs, even at this point. And we see increasingly that one of the best ways to not get killed by an FPV or get killed by any of the different dangers in this war is to go subterranean. So let's take a look at Gaza Strip, where months ago I was predicting that the militants there were going to withstand the Israeli military. And what is the update almost a year on? Exactly that. We see that the Israeli military, they only sort of have it cordoned off, and the militants are still there, hiding in tunnels. Yes, many of them are eliminated. Yes, the city is in complete ruins, but the militants largely survive and still have a lot of the equipment and a lot of the fighters that they started with. And we can see that not only from the videos that they keep posting of them running out from their bunkers 20 meters away from a tank, putting an IED, running out, maybe an ambush with an RPG, but just there's so many things. And I said it. The militaries of today still don't have a way to go and take out these tunnels and a way to deal with tunnel warfare on a massive scale. So let's take a look at Ukraine. I think a lot of people, they think Ukraine is just FPVs. It's open trench lines where you can just kind of observe people. No. Like I said about 2 weeks ago in one of my videos, the front line of Ukraine is largely just holes. This way you can survive a bombardment. You can survive an FPV strike because they can't get through the entrance. Okay, they can't really get themselves in there because you make the tunnel entrance to it a little zigzag so they can't kill you. And what does that give you? It makes it so that the Russians don't know if you're there. They can't observe you anymore. As soon as you get in there, you are unobservable and almost unhittable unless you put a $100,000 precision strike on it. We've survived FABs, we've survived grads, we've survived absolutely everything, FPVs. When I look at the Russians as a recon operator, they're not in a trench line. I'm not observing them just walking across a trench line with their heads bobbing up and down. I barely see them unless it's a specific time of the day where they are doing a rotation, or maybe they're moving from one basement to another. And that's what I want to say. They're in a village right now. The entire village is smoldered to the ground, okay? It's been the front line for 2 years. And it looks just like what I would imagine the Gaza Strip to look like right now. But yet, there's probably 100 Russian soldiers there in the basements of these destroyed houses. When you look at some of the more recent and successful pushes and offensives that Russia has done, it almost always incorporates tunnels or sewer lines in some way or fashion. And this is why I'm so worried about the North Koreans that the Russians are bringing in. These engineers. It could just be to rebuild civilian infrastructure and maybe dig some trench lines, but if there's one thing I know about North Korea, if there's one thing I know about Asians in general, they love their tunnels. And I'm a little scared about the North Koreans being utilized for their tunnel digging skills. And I think that is a great way to get past these half a kilometer gray zones where you need to go from a basement across a field to a forest. Well, one of the ways is just to dig through it. You need a shovel and you need a pickaxe, maybe some explosives, maybe some better machinery if you really want, but that's all you really need, and some food and water to supply the guys who are digging constantly. It doesn't take too long either. It gives you concealment from above and from everything. It gives you the ability to conduct ambushes just out of any entrance you want to make or exit. You can just pop out, do a quick ambush, and get out. You can pretty much pump as many soldiers as you want through them. You can put 400 troops through one exit within 5 minutes, and you can have them all doing an assault. It doesn't have to be just quick two-man jobs like the militants in Palestine are doing. You can put as many troops as you want. And again, that's what we see Russia utilizing. And it's not just Russia. We see Ukraine. I mean, the way that Zelensky a year ago was able to go down to, I think, close to Robotna was because he was in the tunnel networks that they made there. And I think that we're going to see that more and more. We've seen videos from the Kharkiv region where the The Russians have still not yet taken over that area or even reached that line, but there is bunkers that are underground and they're connected. It is a war tunnel. Zaporizhzhia has them both sides, Russia and Ukraine. Obviously, FPVs are a huge threat right now, and the militaries don't really know what to do with them, but same with war tunnels. What has Israel done? They've used these like foam bombs. They've used drones with wires. That way they can get some connection as they go down into the tunnels. But overall, what is the end result? They were not able to take over these tunnel systems. Maybe little bits of it, but they don't go deeper, and it's for a reason. If they get a casualty in there, nobody's coming out. If they reach an area that the Hamas militants are, all the Hamas militants need to do is just pop their AK around the corner. Maybe they're smart and they put a little freaking $5 explosive on the side, maybe cement it into the walls of the tunnel, and they let a claymore go off and they kill a whole group of them. I've seen rumors that Israel was going to go and pump the tunnels full of water from the sea. I mean, that happened in some cases, but it didn't like drown them. It didn't take over the entire system. And again, if an exit or an entrance is covered, just dig for like half a day and you can make a new exit, new entrance. And you can even flank the guys who are watching the entrance that they had just taken over. Or maybe they're pumping water in. Okay, I'm just going to dig up from here. And now I'm in a new place. They don't even know where it is because they can't see from above. I literally just do it in a half a second. And then I take them out. Subterranean warfare and tunnel warfare can be utilized in many different ways. By having just a bunch of pocketed blindages, these bunkers in the ground all across the Ukrainian front line, you don't have the ability to move from one location to another unseen. You have to go out of it, run to the next one, and yes, you can get killed during that time. But once you're in there, it's hard to keep track of who's in which hole. Okay, maybe you move your drone for a half second and then you bring it back. Did somebody move from there and just run to that next hole? Who knows? So you never really have constant surveillance over who's in which blindage and who's in each bunker. What that means for the infantrymen is that many times when you're walking through the forest, you don't know if there's a trench system or a bunker unless you're like 5 meters away, especially in this dense foliage that we have right now in the summertime. You don't know. You just don't know. Even when you see it from the top-down perspective of a drone, when you're on the ground, the reality is that you are looking through bushes in order to find just a tiny little like trail that leads to a bunker. And the thing is, yourself as a defender of the Ukrainian front line, where you're looking at these holes, or maybe you're in the hole, you have a live stream of where people are. You know the area that you're in more so than anybody else in the world, including the Russians. And when they say that there's Russians 100 meters away from you, all you need to do is just look at the drone feed. Oh, they're right there. And you can pop out, even just shoot through the foliage and go back to your bunker. And the Russians still don't know where you are. So it gives a huge advantage to the defending army. And what is the end result? The militants in Gaza, they're still holding on to their ground. The YBS that I was in, still holding on to their ground. The YPG, the different Kurdish groups all across the Kurdish areas, still holding their ground. You look at Ukraine, pretty much holding on to their ground. Russia is just pumping numbers into this attrition war that they started to go and break through these lines of subterranean defenses. So hopefully you learned something. I just want to revisit this topic and talk about how it correlates not only in Iraq, but also in all these different wars that we're seeing, and how we have yet to see a way to defeat these things. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.
I guess.